Shall we go to the news?
Good evening, Mr. Mr. North South American, all the ships and clippers at sea. Let's go to press fly.
It's a holiday week, so it's a little light on news this week. My fishing nets that were cast out into the news world came back with just some little minnows, some little small fish this week. First up, though, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is a video game that's out. It's a part of the Assassin's Creed series. This time it's Viking themed. And there is a dice game inside of the video game that you can play that they are now releasing as a physical version in 2021. It's called Valhalla Viking Dice. And it will be available in 2021 through normal places. But I always like when video games that have games inside of them, or even any fantasy book worlds, like if you got like the Kingkiller Chronicles, they've got Tack inside that was then not even a real game that ever had rules, but somebody like made up rules for it and released it as a board game. Mm-hmm. There's Gwent, that was the card game that was inside of The Witcher. What other things have
Quidditch? Quidditch. Is there a Quidditch game coming out controversially?
That's correct. A controversial miniature Quidditch game. There's, of course, what's the Star Wars card game called? I always forget. It starts with an S.
There's one in Battlestar Galactica too, right?
Yeah, but I always like fictional games where like the author puts like 2 seconds of thought into it, and then somebody like parses that out into something.
Game of Thrones has like Savas or something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, anyway, it's something always interesting when the video game world collides with our little hobby. What else do we have? Nemo's War, which is one of my favorite solo games. It is a solo-only board game based on 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. They've released the final... not released. They've put the final expansion for it on Kickstarter now. There was already a couple little mini expansions that sort of just add some stuff, but this is a big box expansion. It's like a $30 expansion. Comes with a whole ton of new stuff, but it's also a game that's pretty hard to find. Usually they do small print runs and they sell out pretty quickly. So you can get the entire game reprinted with all the expansions, with some fancy new stretch goals thrown in. And when you hear this, there's also about 10 days left, same as Transcontinental. So if you are into Nemo's War, which I am, it was an instant back for me because I love the game, and they do small print runs of anything. So if you want it, you better get it now, because those expansions even sell out quickly too. So yeah, there's not really a huge, massive change to the game. It's just sort of more. And if you know the game, you know that motives, basically every time they release a new motive, it's like an entirely new game. It's almost like a new map in Age of Steam or something, because the motive changes the entire strategy of the game. So we're getting 2 new motives here, one called Piracy, one called World Order. And if you know the game, you can probably imagine what those are about. But yeah, anyway, always love Nemo's War. Have either of you played Nemo's War? I know neither of you are huge solo gamers.
I haven't. I'm intrigued by it. It looks beautiful. It's like, with solo gaming, it's weird. I will solo game once in a while, and it's strange to me because I play video games. That's a solo experience usually. I mean, I don't really play online that much, and I'm not opposed to the idea of solo gaming, but I find it to be an odd experience where I am like, it oddly enough parallels the way I cook. Speaking of cooking, like when I follow a recipe, I go back and look at that cookbook recipe like 5 times to verify that it said 1 teaspoon of salt. And it's like this kind of herky-jerky experience. And that kind of happens to me with solo gaming, where I say, okay, I'm going to do this. Now let me double check. Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? And it sort of feels like a weird, unengaging process for me. Although I did have a really fun time playing Terraforming Mars solo, actually. But I haven't really really thrown myself into it, but I probably should.
To me, Nemo's War is like the one that everyone should try, because it's a game that has to be solo. Like it's really, really immersive, and the turns are it has that like just one more turn sort of like Civilization addiction level to it, where you just want to keep trying.
Yeah.
And the storyline's really good. Like you're always interested in seeing what the next card is. And it's really fun. At some point, you both of you should borrow it at some point. Just like throw it on the table and play it, because it's not wildly complicated, but it's really, I don't know, no other solo game has that sort of like, oh, this is a different experience than just playing a by myself version of a board game.
Is there a mod, do we know, on TTS?
100%.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think there's even one on table. I think it's on a couple of the different formats.
Okay.
Yeah.
I find like when I play a game solo now, it's almost always in the service of like prepping for an actual game with other people. Like if I played Through the Ages a bunch solo because I was going to play it multiplayer with our group. Like I played Game of Thrones board game this week in preparation for playing with other people that I know, online on a Twitch stream. So it seems to operate a different space where like I view single player games almost as like tutorials or practice
training. Yeah.
And because I don't really have the, whatever it is that gets you through the game when I'm playing it by myself, I just tend to not finish stuff. Like it doesn't feel like it has any consequence. Maybe this is a Paul question, but if like there's not somebody there that I'm playing against, it's less interesting to me now.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be curious to see if Nemo's War changes that for you, because it's really sort of the story that hooks you. It gives you that feeling of an interactive novel in a sense, but like for me, it has to be an interactive novel where the mechanics are also addictive, and it sort of does both well. I'd both of you would be very curious to see what you think. Next up, Cephalofair is a company you may have heard of. It is Isaac Childress's company, and Isaac Childress, of course, is the designer of Gloomhaven. They have launched after long-awaited promises to launch it for months and months and years. They finally launched their store. The Cephalofair shop is open. If you go to cephalofair.com, you can buy Gloomhaven t-shirts and pints and stickers and artwork and pins, and now all of the, if you want a mug for your ale that has your class's symbol on it, they have every single class in Gloomhaven has a separate cup or pin or t-shirt, and you can totally go as big as you want in your Gloomhaven fandom. So I know a lot of people have been waiting for that. They have some really cool shirts and mugs and cups and pins and all the kind of stuff that you could possibly imagine. And of course, you can buy Gloomhaven, which is available. Jaws of the Lion is currently sold out on their website, as I believe it is sold out at most places. But Gloomhaven ain't. And eventually, I'm sure they're going to put the next expansion up there, or the next big box, whatever, the Frozen one that's coming out next year.
With Elsa and Anna.
Yeah, exactly. Let it go, Ben.
Yeah.
Disappointing news for me, but also kind of happy news for me as well. Carnegie is a board game that I am extremely excited for, from one of the designers of my favorite game of all time, TREY, Xavier Georges, with art by Ian O'Toole. It was supposed to come out on Kickstarter on Black Friday and has been pushed a couple of weeks. But what wasn't pushed was the release of the TTS mod for it, which came out on Black Friday and ain't going anywhere. It is currently the only way to get the rules as well, as that file is not, as far as I know, available anywhere. You can read the rules on the TTS app for free. You can play the game. It's apparently a really nicely done app as well. I thank our co-host Eric Elder for letting me know about this, because he spotted it showing up on there with no fanfare anywhere, but it was meant to coincide with the release of the Kickstarter, and it's there anyway. I'm really excited to try it. This is a heavy, from the designer himself, a 4.0 weighted hardcore Euro from Xavier Georges and artist Ian O'Toole. And that's all you need to say for me.
Yep. Sold.
What are we doing in this game? Are we captains of industry in Carnegie?
It was inspired by the life of Andrew Carnegie, the game itself. And during the game, you will recruit and manage employees, expand your business, invest in real estate, produce and sell goods, and create transport chains across the United States. You may even work with important personalities of the era. Perhaps you will become an illustrious benefactor who contributes to the greatness. I think you're LARPing Carnegie. We're all trying to LARP him better. This is a action retrieval, area movement, connection game, apparently. This looks like a little bit of pick up and deliver, a little bit of it's. I feel like Xavier Georges games always sort of defy the normal, like this is a worker placement game, especially like things like TREY a little bit, or at least when TREY came out, there wasn't a lot of dice placement games at the time.
It sounds
but
like
it's
my
a
love
beautiful
language.
board.
Yeah.
This definitely looks like a heavy economic route building game with absolutely gorgeous Art Nouveau style art.
I need it.
I'm very curious to check this one out because this does hit a flag for me in terms of like did we run out of human beings to make games about here? Because Carnegie is not. I don't know. It's interesting to me that this is a game that's not made by an American because I definitely have feelings about Carnegie, and I think probably a lot of people who know the history behind his impact on the United States may not view him so heroically in terms of making games about this white dude.
Yeah.
And I'm also willing to have a side bet with you on the pronunciation here. So.
Yeah. I don't know. I actually don't know much about his.
Because why is it Carnegie and I said Carnegie?
Yeah.
Well, I just know it from Carnegie Hall.
Yeah, and I think that's how people say it, but his actual name is Carnegie, I think. I think I edited some show for the History Channel once that had him in it. So that's the only reason I feel confident in thinking that it's Carnegie. But
I'll bow to you on that.
Yeah, I'm just hopeful that there's I will say that it looks amazing. It's totally speaking my love language. I want everything about it. I am a little worried because I don't know much about Carnegie. Carnegie.
I literally know nothing.
I am. There's just something scary about these days when we get excited about, like you said, like an old white dude from a certain period of time who probably did some terrible things.
Yeah. But the description here is Carnegie was also a benefactor and a philanthropist, and upon his death in 1919, more than 350 million of his wealth was bequeathed to various foundations. So
let's also remember that often these designers have themes foisted upon them by the publisher. So who knows and Xavier is a Belgian. So who knows if it's his passion for Carnegie or Queen Ed Games who published it, who thought it somehow would sell better. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
we'll see.
But yeah,
we'll see.
We'll see. You know me.
I'm excited regardless.
Don't stop me from judging prematurely. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I will not. Absolutely. Hey, if you enjoyed that video, you very well might enjoy the other videos you now see being suggested to you on screen. Also, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could like, share, or subscribe to our Game Brain channel. Thanks so much.